All right, Coach Jim here. We are going to go over the Ironman California pre-race talk, which is happening this Sunday, October 23rd, up in Sacramento. A lot of you guys are listening on recording. So if you have questions on the recording, ask it in the YouTube, or text me, email me. But if you ask it in the YouTube, other people will be able to see the answers. So if you guys have questions throughout this that are on it live, ask in the chat, and we will go over it right away. Coach Chris is here. He's got a bunch of thoughts on the race as well. So I put together a quick, a PowerPoint here that is similar to last year's. Obviously, there's some changes. Bike course is a little different, but nothing of major note. But I'll go through the slides, just some things to remember, some things from a taper perspective, things from a race standpoint, and then just some things to look out for on course. But like I said, as things come up in your mind, give it a shout out in the chat. And let's see, Lynn, can you keep an eye on the chat as we're going? And because when I go into the full screen mode, I can't see the chat. So if someone has it, just unmute and ask a question. Thanks. All right, so I'll share the screen. All right, play add slide. All right, so we got Ironman California happening this Sunday, the 23rd, this week. So one thing I touched on in the weekly, on the Monday weekly email, just some things to think about early in the week. And I want to put this in here right away so you don't forget about it. And you don't need to be wearing a Whoop or an Oura ring or wear a Garmin that has the info. But the HRV, we want your HRV, the space between heartbeats that measures how stressed you are. We want that to be as high as possible. So it doesn't make a difference. You don't need to be measuring it, but things to do that do raise your HRV and make you feel bulletproof on race day. And especially this week, you want to pay attention this week. If you're racing on Sunday, stay active without overdoing it. You don't want to just sit on your butt like a bump on a log and say, I'm racing on Sunday, I can't do anything. Keep your legs moving, pay attention to that taper week that we have in your schedule. And yeah, keep moving, but just don't overdo it. Keep the intensity up, volume down, just as we have noted on the taper week for each of you. Make sure you're sleeping, shut it down early. This isn't the week to stay up all night, counting your sheep or whatever you do late at night, watching everybody loves Raymond reruns. Shut it down early, get off your screens, and get as much sleep as you can. The more sleep you get, the more your body can recover, the more you can build back everything you broke down. And that's a major factor in raising that HRV. Eat clean, no alcohol, eat your fruits, vegetables, lean protein, complex carbohydrates, no garbage, no fatty foods. This isn't the week for McDonald's, this isn't the week for Burger King. Stay away from those trans fats. And yeah, just think about everything before you put it in their mouth. Eat, but just eat clean. Like I said, no alcohol, hydrate with electrolytes. If you're not into meditating, just take some deep breaths here and there, just some big deep breaths in and out, count the 10 up, count the 10 down. Maybe if you're into meditation, Headspace or Calm or something like that, do that daily. It's a good practice to just release that stress. And then last thing is just cut out any unnecessary stressors. If there's something you can put off to somebody else, something that you can, that you don't need to do, like I've been using as an example, go clean the garage on Wednesday. You're not going to do that this week. So cut out anything that you don't need to be doing and sit down and just relax. This is not the week to be doing all that stuff. And this goes all the way up until race day, guys. This doesn't mean Friday before the race, you're walking around the whole expo for 8 hours, buying all the Ironman stuff and all that. Sure, go do that, but get in and get out. The day before the race, we're gonna go over this, but you're gonna drop off your bike, get back to your hotel, relax, and push your feet up. This isn't the week to be super dad or super mom running the kids all over the place. Take this week to be a little selfish and think about yourself, because you put so much into this race. We want to make sure that HRV is high as possible. Second of note, make sure in your Tower 26 profile on Ironman.com, your team is, or your club is Tower 26. If you guys don't know how to do that, I can lead you through it, but actually I can lead you through it right now. I'm going to do it right now. And we're going to exit full screen mode, stop sharing. Okay, I'm going to go back to that. Here we go. I will show you. And now there's no excuse. Am I right, Tony? No excuse not to be a Tower 26 club member on race day. So just real quick, here we go. I'm going to share this screen. and bear with me if you've done this already, but I don't want any excuses on race day. So you see, you go to ironman.com. On the left-hand side, it says log in. You come to your profile, and you all should have a profile since you already have an Ironman account, since you're racing. But if you don't, update your email, password, sign up, whatever you have to do. Once you log into your account, it brings you to this screen. Click on club membership. And mine's already Tower 26, but if you want to add Tower 26, hit add club, type in Tower 26. I don't know if it will come up because I just did it, but type in Tower 26. He'll show up there, and just make sure it is on your profile at Ironman.com. No excuses. We want all you guys to get points for finishing. We are proud of each and every one of you. So we want you guys to be on part of the team, getting credit for all you've done for us. So let's go back to our keynote. So that's that. I made that clear. All right. Some things to remember on race day. You got to remember your tri-suit, 2 sets of goggles, 1 tinted, 1 normal, just to be safe. If it's really dark at the start, if it's overcast, 1 clear. If it's overcast and dark at the start, you're going to want to have that clear set. If it's sunny and cloudless sky, you'll wear the tinted one. So be ready with 2 sets of goggles, a clear one, a tinted one. You might want a towel in transition, but we'll go over that in a minute. You probably won't need that, but if you're going to have a towel, you're probably going to put it in your bike bag, your blue bag, which we're going to go over shortly. Put that in there because that's where you're going to be drying off. So if you do put a towel in, you're going to put it in your blue bag. You're going to need your wetsuit. You're going to need your Vaseline. The water temperature is 65 to 68 degrees. So it's not overly cold, but you're going to be wearing wetsuits. Bring Vaseline or some type of lubricant to put between any hot spots like your neck or under your armpits, around your ankles, places that might chafe under that wetsuit. Toilet paper, just in case they might run out at an outhouse. It's rare, but by the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. And if you're used to using amp lotion, that's a good thing to put on your legs, on your lats, to help buffer any type of lactate that might build up throughout the race. So if you're not aware of amp PR lotion, it might be something to look into either for this race or for future races. Bike, obviously, in your helmet, your shoes, your socks. Now, I think coming out of the water, it's going to be kind of chilly. So you might want some arm warmers or a vest, but you don't want to go throw in, your $250, Castelli vest that you just bought, because if you strip it off and you throw it on the side of the road, you're not going to get it back. So keep that in mind. Anything that you put on in T1 out of the water to stay warm in that first quarter of the bike. If it's something you're going to strip off in an aid station and throw out, it's got to be something that's not worth much to you, because you're not going to get it back. Sunglasses, water bottles, all the nutrition you're going to need. Make sure you're prepared with a toolkit on your bike in case you get a flat. They will have support on course, but they can't be everywhere at all times. So have a toolkit ready to change a spare tire, and just something to bring with you when you go to the race. Bring a pump. You're going to want to pump your tires before race day, the morning of, and you're going to have to use a pump in transition. You can bring your pump, but we just might risk losing it. You're better off using one of the pumps they have at the race. So I would advise against bringing your own pump to race day, but it's something you want to put in your car, especially if you guys are getting there Thursday and you're going to do a couple rides Friday, Saturday. You want to make sure those air is in the tires. And then race morning, you use a pump that's in transition. They're all over the place, or they're at the mechanics stand as well. Running, obviously need your shoes. Remember, if you are going up there, you're going to need 2 pairs of shoes, because one is going to be in your run bag and you're going to have to wear the other one, right? So bring 2 pairs of running shoes, one to warm up in before the race and one that you're actually going to race in. And we'll talk about the bags in a minute. Dry clothes, something that you are going to put on if it's inclement weather for any reason. You might want to change clothes in T2. So it might be smart to put in actual running gear, something you go on a Sunday afternoon and go run in, that you can change coming off the bike and into something dry. Or what I do is I wear my 1-piece kit on the bike, and then I strip it off in T2 and I put on a 2-piece tri kit, just for kind of a fresh start. So I always put an extra set of clothes in my T2 bag just so I can go out on the marathon and just feel a little fresher. Your race belt that you attach those numbers to, it goes around your waist. It has little elastics that you attach your race number to. That way you're not putting pinholes in those nice sexy kits you guys are wearing. And if you don't have a race belt, just go to Amazon, look up race belt for race number, and you can buy one for $8. It'll be here tomorrow. Hat, visor, something to shield your eyes from the sun, and then make sure you have all your nutrition that you're going to need on the run. And remember, guys, this is going to be on YouTube, so you don't need to, take a ton of screenshots. You can always go back and take a look at this. Miscellaneous things you might need is your Garmin, your training device. Make sure you have your heart rate strap. And if you're committed to putting on that heart rate strap, don't get hasty in T1 and say, oh, I'm not going to do it. Or don't get hasty before the race and say, oh, I'm not going to do it. Wear your heart rate strap, because if you're paying attention to the heart rate, you're used to paying attention to your heart rate, you're going to want to do that on race day so you can stick to your actual race plan. Like I said, Body Glide Vaseline, some sunscreen that you want to put on in your hotel or your Airbnb before you leave for the day. They will have sunscreen on course, but you can set the you can just set the foundation by putting some on. But just remember, don't put any above your eyes. If you're going to put on sunscreen, put it below your eyes, nothing on your forehead, so it doesn't leak down into your eyes. Electrical tape, something you might need if there's anything loose on your bike that you notice on Thursday or Friday and you just need to tighten it down. You just use some tape to tighten it down. Maybe some scissors that you can cut your numbers a little tighter than those big flappy numbers that they have when they give it to you to stick on your bike. Oh, another note, there's going to be no body marking for this race. So don't worry about getting body marked the morning of. Warm change of clothes for after the race is something to throw in your transition bag. And yeah, maybe something that you can snack on after the race, or a recovery drink of some sort you can just put in your transition bag. All right, so athlete check-in, you guys, I believe, I'm not sure if they're doing it for this race. I've actually forgot to check in on it, but you all, did you guys register for a time to check in? Someone nod their head, no? Okay, so just show up. It's old rules, so just show up, and whenever you want to show up. I would advise don't show up first thing in the morning when it opens. I think we'll go to the schedule on the next screen, but if it opens at 9 a.m., don't show up at 9 a.m. because the line's going to be 7 miles long. Show up a little later, 10, 11, 12, and that line cinches down, and there's barely a line later in the day. So don't just show up first thing when the check-in opens on Thursday or Friday morning. Show up a little later so you don't have to wait in that huge line. But remember, you have to check in Thursday or Friday. You cannot check in Saturday for the race. You'll drop your bikes off Saturday, but there's no race check-in Saturday. You have to check in Thursday or Friday. You'll see on the schedule, there's the briefing. Make sure you guys attend the briefing just to go over any last-minute notes from the race director. The race directors do the briefing, so they have all those last-minute notes and things to look out for. And check out the schedule. It's actually 9 to 4 bike check-in on Saturday. You have to drop your bike off the day before the race, 9 to 4 p.m. at the transition area at the baseball stadium. They will have the bike check-in. It's mandatory. You cannot bring your bike race morning. All right, here is the schedule for Thursday and Friday. There's athlete check-in 10 a.m. And remember, we're not getting there at 10 a.m. Get there 11, noon, 1, 2, but not at 10. It's too long of a line. If you're going to walk around the Ironman Village and check out the stores, do it on Thursday. You're not going to do it on Friday or Saturday. A few briefings are noted on there. Friday is the same schedule as Thursday, pretty much. Then here's Saturday. Notice that the fun run is in the morning. If you're looking for something to do with your kids to get them involved, it's always fun to have that, be part of that fun run. They do it really well. They do it by different ages, from toddlers up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-olds. So it might be something that you want to attend in the morning. Just get your bike dropped off sometime between 9 and 4. And there's one more briefing at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Sunday, here you go. This is a big day. So 4:30 a.m. is when the special needs bags open. So what's going to happen is you're going to show up at the race. The transition opens at 4:45. You don't have to be there that early, but there's going to be a truck close to transition. They're going to say these are run special needs, and then there'll be a truck next to it, and they'll say these are bike special needs, and you'll just drop off your special needs before you go into transition, right? So the orange bag is run special needs, the black bag is bike special needs, and you'll drop each one off before you get in the transition. You don't do it the day before. All you do the day before is drop the bike off. You'll go into transition. You're going to drop your bike gear off at the racks. You're going to have a bunch of racks to drop the bike gear off at. So as you walk in the transition, drop your bike gear. So we'll talk about it in a second, but in your bike gear bag, you'll have your helmet, your shoes, your sunglasses, some nutrition, maybe a towel, your socks. So everything you're going to need on the bike, you're going to put in that blue bag. You drop that off at the rack, a bike gear rack. The run gear rack is at your bike. So, there's not a special rack for run gear. You just bring your run gear bag, the red bag, to where you racked your bike. And that's where you're going to get your run gear from when you go out of T2. All right. So, yeah, I got ahead of myself there, but so you drop your special needs off, go into transition, find your bike, drop the run gear off, drop the bike gear off, drop the run gear off the bike, get your air in your tires, hit the head, hit the outhouse, get that bike set up, get all your nutrition on the bike. Then there's the shuttle buses are going to be moving from 5 to 6:30 a.m. and they're going to take you to the swim start, which is 2.4 miles up the road, right? Because you're taking the river back down to the transition area. So the shuttle bus has to take you up to where the start is. You don't have to be there at 5 a.m. at the swim start because there's nothing to do out there. All you're going to do is lay on some concrete for an hour and a half until they start doing the national anthem and all that. And, you're going to be extremely uncomfortable. So there's no reason to be there at 5 a.m. So if you want to hit a bus around, 5:45, doesn't take long to go 2.4 miles on a bus. So don't think you need to get there super early because the race doesn't start until 7 a.m. So the closer you get there to the race start, I would say the better off you're going to be because you're not going to be doing anything down there except for maybe going for a light jog and doing some movement. If anybody wants to come with you, they can get on the bus and then there will be a shuttle bus that takes them back to the transition area. Like I said, the race starts at 7 a.m. There's a rolling start for age groups. So let's just make sure you guys know where approximately you'll want to finish in, right? And we know it's downriver and it's going to be fast, but let's be on the aggressive side of where you want to finish. And that's where you're going to line up. So there's going to be a 55-minute, there's going to be an hour, there's going to be an hour and 5 minutes, like the start of a marathon. There's these big signs. People will be holding signs. These are an hour athletes. These are 105 swim athletes. These are 110 swim athletes. So seed yourself accordingly, but on the aggressive side, right? Because it's going to be a fast swim with the river shooting you down. Cindy was over yesterday and she said someone did the second half of the swim that's typically a 2:30 per 100 and they swam it in 1:40 per 100. So it's a fast swim. So seed yourself accordingly. Think about what typically you'd swim, take 20-30 seconds off per 100, figure that out and line yourself up accordingly. But don't be too aggressive because you don't want to get all flustered and have people swimming over you. All right, so we'll race. Afterwards, you have the post-race food. You can get your morning clothes bag and your bikes afterwards. So I think it starts at 5:45. You can actually get your bike out of transition. So finish before then. You got to wait a little bit. All right, here's your bags, guys. Now this might be look a little overwhelming to you, but don't worry, it's very self-explanatory. So your white bag is your morning bag. So you are going to take that bag with you to the swim start on the bus. So everything you wear to the swim start, you're going to, excuse me, hang on a second. You're going to put in that white bag, right? So what I do is I take my transition bag with me and then I just tie the white bag to it. This is a pro tip, right? Tie the white bag to it with my number on it. They're going to give you numbers for all these bags so you know it's yours. So I have my transition bag, which is a little bigger than that white bag. I have a little more room to stuff in whatever I have and bring with me. And then I just tie that to the transition bag and then give them to take back to transition for after the race. If you don't want to do that, you can just stuff everything in that white bag when you get to the swim start, except for your cap, your goggles, and your wetsuit. So everything that you're not going to swim with goes in that white bag and you drop it off at the swim start before you get in the water. The blue bag is your bike gear bag. Like I said, everything goes in that blue bag that you're going to be wearing on the bike or that you're going to need coming out of the water. So whatever you think you're going to need coming out of the water goes in that blue bag, and that's what you put on the rack. So when you come out of the water, run up the ramp into the transition area, there's going to be all the racks. Yours is going to be there by number. You'll grab your blue bag. You'll go into your changing tent, the women's changing tent, the men's changing tent. You empty out the blue bag. You put on everything you need to put on. Then you move on to your bike. The red bag is your run gear bag. Everything you need in the run goes in that run gear bag. And like I said, you're going to put that at your bike rack. So there's not a special rack for the run gear. Everything you need on the run just goes in that bag. Your hat, your shoes, your socks, any nutrition you might need, sunglasses, anything else you'll need on the run goes in that bag. Your special needs is right there. So you have the orange one is the orange one's, I had it mixed up before. The orange one's the bike special needs. The black one is the run special needs. So halfway through the bike, you're gonna have access to your special needs bag. Halfway through the run, you'll have access to your run special needs bag. So what goes in here is anything so personally what I do is I start with a bottle up front with electrolytes and a bottle with gels in the bottom two. That'll get me through half the race. And then I just re-up on those same bottles in my special needs bag. I use the special needs bag so I don't have to bring 112 miles worth of nutrition on my bike at the start, because that's weighing me down. That's more stuff that you're gonna have to carry with you. And you can just get that fresh load halfway through. And you can also put in there anything that makes you happy. I had an athlete who loved sour apple gum, so we put a piece of sour apple gum in there. Had another athlete who loved payday bars, so he put 2 payday bars in there. Something you can look forward to and say, hey, I'm halfway through the bike. I know I'm going to get my Uncrustable peanut butter sandwich. I know it's in there. That's something I have to look forward to. Halfway through the run, I know I'm going to have, I don't know, whatever, a can of Red Bull or whatever, which wouldn't be necessary because there's Red Bull on course, but something that makes you happy that you can look forward to. All right, so I went through everything that you're going to need. Helmets and shoes have to go in your bike gear bag. You can't put that on your bike. Nothing goes on your bike except for your nutrition. Your bike is completely clean, except for your run bag that'll be next to it. Everything else goes in there. So some people ask if you can clip your shoes in and do a flying mount coming out of transition. No, everything has to go into those bags. And I would not suggest you doing a flying mount, even if you could do it, just because it's so congested at the mount line. All right.
Jimmy, a couple of, I've done plenty of Ironmans as you have. This can be a little intimidating for brand new athletes. What I usually do when I get my bags on race day pickup is I put the 4 bags out on the bed, and then I get my run shoes and put it in the run bag. And then I get my bike shoes and I put it in the bike bag. And then I gradually work down to the special needs bag, can of Red Bull, couple of more goos, whatever I need. So just sort them out and just do one at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with it. And if you don't need your morning clothes bag, don't even take it. Make it as simple as possible.
Everyone will need the morning clothes bag, but that's a good point. Lay it out there so you can see it all, and then go from there. But yeah, because of where the swim start is, Chris, they'll all need the morning clothes bag, because none of them are just going to go down there and there.
I've taken a sweatshirt and just left it for the people there. The other thing is, Jim, I understand it's newly paved roads, and I understand it's chip seal, right? What would be the recommended tire pressure for the day? Would you say 100?
No, lower. I was somewhere in the 80 to 90 range.
So
everything's trending on the lower side now. You don't want to go too low, but somewhere about 85 to 90, I would say. You don't
want to be riding this course on 110, 120 PSI.
No, you don't want to ride.
Have no teeth left.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll be bouncing more than be moving forward. So the more ground contact those tires can have, the better efficiency you're going to have as you move forward. So that's how I want to go about 85 to 90 in your tires. And the wider the tires, the less PSI you can get away with. So if you have 28 millimeter tires, maybe you want to go 75 to 80. Yeah. If you're at 23 to 25, which most of us are, you'll be around 85 to 90, somewhere in there. Thanks, Chris. All right, so aid stations on course, bike course aid stations are 12, 25, 38, 50, 68, 81, 94, and 106. So they're about every 15 to 16 miles. On the run, they're 1 to 1.4 miles apart. Offerings on the bike. So the way it's going to be laid out is you're going to come up on the aid station at mile 12, let's say, and you're going to see the first group of volunteers, they're going to have water. The second group of volunteers are going to have Gatorade. The third group are going to have all your gels. If you want a gel or you want something specific, as you come up, tell them, hey, I want a banana, I want a banana, I want a banana, and slow down so they can give it to you. Or I want a gel, I want a gel, I want a gel. Slow down enough so they can give it to you. And then once you get through the little food area, then they're going to go Gatorade, water again, right? So that's how it's laid out at all the aid stations on the bike and the run. Water, Gatorade, food, gel, Gatorade, water. Right? So your first water that you get, you can take, you can dump it all over yourself, dump it on those big prime mover muscles. take a few sips of it, throw it on the side, and then you can take the second water from the last group of volunteers, and that's the one you can sip on or do whatever you want to do with. But the first water you take, you can use that to cool yourself off. And the second one you can use to drink on until the next aid station comes in about 15 miles. Run, same thing. The run is put on the same way, but they add in Gatorade. I mean, they add in Red Bull and Coke. So it'll be water, Gatorade, food, Red Bull, Coke, Gatorade, water. And they're all yelling what they have, and there'll be ice also. So there's ice all throughout the aid stations. Get in your nutrition on the run, even if it means you have to brisk walk those aid stations to get it in and then get running right afterwards. Get in that nutrition on the run. And on the bike, don't get hasty. If you have to slow down to grab a bottle, slow down to grab the bottle, because you don't want to go 16 miles completely dry if you're out of whatever you were drinking. So do what you have to do to slow down enough to safely take the bottle so you can get it in and make sure you stay on top of that nutrition. Lynn, are there any questions in the chat?
No, you already answered it. They had a question on the PSI. One person made a note, and I agree. I rode the course. The only chip seal is Babel Slow Road, which is about 3.5 miles. And don't be an arrow in Babel Slow, because you're going to lose all your teeth, and it's probably not safe. But the rest of the way, yeah, it's flat and it's great road. Great.
So that PSI should be perfect for everybody then. I wouldn't go any lower than 85. I'd go about 85 to 90 for a majority of you guys. All right, so Saturday, the day before the race, you want to eat a nice carb-heavy breakfast. Obviously balanced, get some protein in there, some fruits, but carb-heavy, pancakes, waffles, not to the point that you're bursting your belt, but yeah, so get on your little light training, make sure you pack your bags, drop that bike off. It depends on the day. If it's a super windy day or if it's raining out, drop it off later in the day. But you get all your stuff done and you're ready to go drop it off. Like I said, don't get there at 9 a.m. to drop it off, but get there, midday, drop it off, get that out of your way. And then you can get back to your hotel or Airbnb or your house and just relax. Also remember one thing that I always talk about on beginner triathlons, but it's a good thing to think about here. Find a stable marker as to where your bike is, because when you run in from the swim and there's 4,000 bikes, someone told me there's 4,000 people racing, which is a heck of a lot, but there's 4,000 bikes, it's going to be a sea of tri bikes, right? So you want to find a stable marker where you can identify your bike rack. So find a light pole or an outhouse, something that's not going to move. So when you go there on Saturday, pay attention. Hey, I know my bike is parallel with that outhouse or that light pole or that tent. And that's where I can run to when I come in out of the water. So it just takes one thing off your plate as the having to find your bike. Get home, get off your feet early, eat dinner on the earlier side. Don't overhydrate, guys. Don't just be chugging water all day. I heard an old fight tip is if you press boxers, if they press the end of their finger and it was just white, they were overhydrated. We don't want to overhydrate because that's going to leave us hyponatremic. We're going to be really out of balance with our electrolytes. So everything we drink has to have electrolytes in it, and you don't want to just be guzzling all day. You want to be sipping on a beverage, on a water bottle all day with electrolytes, but you don't want to be just guzzling, because we don't want to be overhydrated. That's going to make us feel just as lethargic as if we were dehydrated. Salt, electrolytes all day. Add extra salt on your food. Every day before a race, I always eat French onion soup, and I hate French onion soup, but I eat it because it's so heavy in sodium. So yeah, Lynn, her face is. I eat it because I eat food that's really heavy in sodium the day before a race, especially hotter races. But you guys are going to need your electrolytes no matter what. So add a little extra salt to your food on Saturday. And like I said, shut it down early, turn those screens off. Even if you think you're not sleeping, lay there and relax. Believe me, you will fall asleep. But another thing is you don't want to go to bed at 6 p.m. That's too early, because then you're just going to sit there and your mind is just going to race. So, 8:39, you can start to shut it down, but don't think, oh, I'm going to go to bed at 6:37 p.m. because I got to get up at 3:30. That's too early, and that's worse than going to bed late. So be realistic with it, but don't prolong it. Like I said, don't sit around and watch those. Everybody loves Raymond reruns. Sunday, wake up at around 4 a.m. You don't have to wake up at 2 a.m. I was staying with a group in Texas one time before Ironman Texas, and they're all going to bed, and they're like, okay, see you at 2:30. I'm like, the race isn't until 7 a.m. What the hell are you guys waking up at 2:30 for? So I always say around 4 you want to wake up. You can have a cup of coffee, eat your breakfast, start to get packed up. just so you're to transition, give you enough time to get ready and then get on that bus around 5:45 a.m. So you probably want to get the transition around 5:15, 5:15, somewhere in there. Bring a banana, something you can eat before you get on that bus, or when you get to the swim start, actually a banana or a Cliff Bar, something to help tide you over. Keep on those electrolytes from the start. Like I said, don't just guzzle them though. You want to sip on it. Get out that door by 5:15. Like I said, 6:30, the shuttles leave from the baseball stadium to the swim start. They will have, I believe they said they're going to have outhouses at the swim start as well. And I think it would be torture if they didn't. So assume they'll have outhouses at the transition area at the baseball stadium as well as at the swim start. So do your business and bring that toilet paper because just want to be prepared. All right. Once you go to get your business done, make sure you get those tires. The first thing I do when I get to my rack is I grab my bike and I go find a pump, or I ask somebody for a pump and I just get that out of the way, get all the rest of my nutrition on my bike. You can go for your little jog. And you can actually go for your jog when you're out at the swim start. If you make sure you bring those shoes out there, just don't get out there barefoot and then have to go jog barefoot because we wouldn't want to do that. So you don't have to put your wetsuit on until you get to the swim start. You don't need to be, fully dressed in that. You'll see people dressed in their wetsuit at 4:45 a.m. when they get to transition. There's no need for that. So when you get out to the swim start, then you can realistically get that wetsuit on. And there's no swim warm up. So just make sure you keep moving, especially as you get closer to your swim start. You don't want to spend the first 400 or 500 meters of the actual race warming up. So before you get in the water, before your time actually comes that the race is going on and you're about to get in, do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do some of those arm swings that we work on every week. Just get that body moving, that heart rate up so you don't have to spend the first 400 or 500 meters warming up. Rolling start starts at, this is 6:50. I think it's at 7 a.m. on the other schedule. So just be prepared for a 6:50 rolling start. And like I said, be realistic with that swim time, but be slightly aggressive. So your swim course, 2.4 miles. As you see on the upper right of this map, that is where the buses will take you to. Everybody will line up from there by your predicted swim finish time. Temperatures in that mid 60s range. You'll be wearing your wetsuit. As those two rivers converge together, that current gets faster. There'll be yellow buoys. You can go on either side of the buoys. There's no turn buoys as you see. But just know that when you stay tighter to the buoys, that's where usually they put that in the heart of the current. So you guys can, there's a team swim that I put on the schedule for you guys at 3 p.m. on Friday, and it's on the Training Peaks schedule that you can meet at this park that's on the schedule, and you can see the current and the way it's taking you. But typically the strongest current is where the buoy line is. So try and stay as tight to those buoys as you can. But don't worry about right or left side. You can go on either side of the buoys, but just don't be all the way at the side of the bank of the river. That's going to be the least amount of current that you can get.
Jim, quick question on seeding yourself race morning for the swim. Let's take Anthony Ross, for instance, real good swimmer, real strong swimmer, probably a 1:30, 100 compared to Sean just at 2 minutes. Where do you think, is it going to be a fast swim? Not for the first part, but definitely for the second. Where do you think they should seed themselves? First with Anthony, do you think he should do 45, 50 minutes and Sean maybe an hour?
Yeah, I don't even know if they're going to have 45, 50-minute range, but they'll probably have an hour. So I would say Anthony around the 55 and Sean around 110.
110?
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, that's something we could talk about as the race gets closer. All right, so I already made note of all this. So if you guys want to stay out of the fray of the start, obviously the rolling start and everybody's lined up, so it's not going to be that chaotic. But if you need a little extra room, stay a little bit off to the side. If you do start to hyperventilate, just relax, get on your back and float. Luckily, the river will keep moving you forward, but there's going to be tons of lifeguards out there with their actual boards, so you can rest on that if you need to. There's resting boards along the way that they have anchored into the bottom. So if you need to do that, just relax. Race isn't over. If you start to lose your breath, just chill out, let that breathing come back into alignment, and you'll be fine. And then you can start moving ahead nice and easy. But if you want to avoid chaos, if you want to avoid all the arms and the legs kicking, move off to the side a little bit, and that'll give you a little fresh water to swim into until you get into your groove. Like I said, stay as close to the buoys as you can, sight frequently. like I said, and the water will be a little bit cold, might be a little bit of a shock to the system. Mid 60s is actually pretty nice, but that gives you a little bit more in the 60s, gives you a little more of a tendency to hyperventilate. So just relax. Don't let yourself hold the breath. Relax and keep breathing, because if you start to hyperventilate, it means you're holding your breath and just getting CO2 on top of CO2 on top of CO2. So just relax and breathe. Find your rhythm, stay nice and real easy. Like I said, we don't want to use the first 400 or 500 meters warming up, but you do not have a swim warm up. So you're going to use a little of that time to warm up. So don't get in and just, I gotta go. Nice, relaxed, long, smooth strokes. Let that current do the work for you, right? Use the swim as a warm up for the entire day, because it's going to be so strong from the back. The more relaxed and fluid and efficient you can be, the more you're going to use that current to your advantage. As you go, things will spread out. So if it's chaos at the start, don't get overwhelmed. It will thin out as you get 200, 300, 400 meters in. Any questions on the swim? Anyone? All right. Transition. Now, at the end of every race, on Monday after a race, Mike Riley says the people who took the longest amount of time in transition. And there's people hours, hour and a half, 2 hours spending in transition. This isn't you guys, right? We want to get into transition and get out of transition. Transition is part of the race, guys. This goes into your overall time. There's no reason to go in there, dilly-dally, and spend 15 minutes. If you look at the fastest guys in the race, 2 minutes, minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I'm not saying you have to be there, because I want to be snappy but not hasty. Get all your stuff ready, get everything settled in, and get everything on accordingly. Don't skip anything. Like I said, if you're going to put on your heart rate monitor in T1, put it on. If you've got to put on socks, put them on. But don't just lollygag in there and lay around and sit around. That's free time. Get in there, get moving, put your stuff on, get out to your bike, grab your bike, get moving on that bike. It also helps you keep your core temperature up. So if you're cold coming out of the swim, it's good to keep moving through transition, not just sit there and let that cold settle in. The quicker you can get moving on the bike, the quicker that core temperature gets up, and you start to feel better about that internal thermostat. When you get into your T1, take your bag and just sit down on a chair, take your bag and dump it out so you have everything right there. From there, you can put on your socks, your bike shoes, your helmet, grab your nutrition, and then you can run from there. You can run the out of transition and go to your bike and grab your bike. Grab your bike, run it out of the bike out, get on the bike before the mount line, get on your bike, and then you can start easing into your bike pace. But snappy but not hasty. Did I make that clear? Don't spend hours in transition. It's a longer run from the swim to T1, and there's most likely going to be a carpet. So if you can stay on that carpet as much as possible, obviously I don't want you slipping, but stay on the carpet to protect your feet from the concrete. Stay on the carpet as much as you can. You might have to come off a little bit because we are so adept at running through transition, but stay on the carpet as much as you can. And if you have to come off to go around somebody, go right back on that carpet. But it is a longer run. I think Cindy said it's about 0.4 to half a mile. Cindy tends to exaggerate here and there, but it is a longer run from, everybody's laughing at that. It's a longer run from the swim to T1. So be ready for that. When you go from that horizontal to vertical position, your heart rate might spike and you might feel a little uncomfortable for a minute. Just keep moving forward. Eventually it'll come down. By the time you grab your bike, you'll be fine. You'll be onto your bike ride. All right. Bike course, 112 miles, a whole 710 feet of elevation, 2 loops. I mean, if you look at that elevation chart at the bottom, it looks like it's bumpy, but that's because it's only like 20 feet here and there. So it's a very, very, very flat course for 112 miles. So 2 loops, 710 feet of elevation, 8 stations I have it wrong there, it's about every 15 to 16 miles. We work on this every single one of our Tower 26 sessions, staying steady on your pedals, guys. Just steady, fluid, efficient pedal stroke, every single pedal stroke, and you're going to be extremely efficient and you're going to come off of the bike feeling great. We don't want to just be stomping down, stomp, 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 stomp. On a course like this, stay nice and fluid and efficient. As you come out of turns, maybe you can stand up to bring the stress on different muscles and stretch it out a little bit, because there aren't many hills to move around the stress. So on a course like this, to help from cramping, every opportunity you get to stand out of the saddle to stretch a little bit, let's use it. So a lot of the turns you can do that. If you're looking to pass someone, you can do that. Make sure you're aware of your surroundings. You're aware of other riders. Now, a course like this that has a fast swim for majority athletes and is extremely flat flat ride. We'll get to this in a second, but there's going to be packs of athletes forming, right? And it's not because anyone wants the draft. It's just something that happens with a course like this. Don't get all in your head and think, oh my God, these guys are drafting, those guys are drafting, these guys are cheating, those guys are cheating. It happens because of the way the race is. It's not because anyone wants to do it. So if you find yourself in a Sunday group ride with a bunch of people moving at the same speed, don't lose your head and think everyone's trying to cheat. No, everyone's in the same place you are. But don't be the hero who tries to put in 2,000 watts to get away from the group, because that's not going to happen either. No matter how much power you put out, you're not going to be able to drop a group of 50 people. And also, I don't want you soft pedaling to let them go away from you. So just find your groove. Obviously, don't try the draft. But if you find yourself in a pack of athletes, which is probably going to happen, just keep a clear head, stay nice and fluid, stay efficient, and just use it as a little extra time that you can recover and, you know, not have to stress yourself on the pedals, because the group's always going to move a lot faster than the individual. It will string out as all these other athletes start to fatigue and get tired. They'll start to fall off and the groups will string out, and eventually you'll be on your own. But especially in the first 30, 40 miles, I see a course like this being very bunchy. So on Monday, there's going to be pictures. Oh, look at the drafting on Ironman California. No one wants to do it. No one is trying to do it. It's just what happens on a course like this. Clear? You find yourself, just keep a steady head and just say, hey, it's all part of the race. But obviously, I don't want you drafting on purpose, but it's just something happens with a course like this.
Tim, is this a course where you can be pretty aggressive, or would you like to see athletes build into this? Start off a little conservative and then gradually build by...
Well, yeah, I mean, in the Ironman, we always want to be very conservative at the beginning. We never want to be extremely aggressive, or we don't want to be too aggressive, because it is 112 miles. Exactly. No matter what's going on in the course dynamics, it's a 112-mile ride and a 26-mile run, 26.2-mile run. So it's going to be a challenging day. If you can stay nice and efficient and fluid and build into your effort over that first 10, 15, 20 miles, and then really find that groove, that's going to be ideal over, oh, I got to get on my pedals right away. My target heart rate's 140. I got to get there right away. Take your time building up to it. Eventually you find that groove and you fall into your race pace. But if those groups do start to form and you're not at 140 beats a minute, just do what you can do and use it as time that you can just, you know, save some energy, because when it does string out and you have to find that race pace on your own, you're going to have a little more energy because you did keep a smart head and you just used it to your advantage. But just something to look out for there. Good question, Chris. All right, most of us want to shoot for that 70 to 75% effort from a power perspective and from a heart rate perspective. So after all the workouts we've done, you guys should know where you are heart rate wise at 70 to 75% effort. If not, we can talk about it live. Keep a nice comfortable cadence, like I said, nice efficient in that 78 to 90 range RPM, never too low. We don't want to grind too low of a gear or spin too high of a gear. Even pace rides lead the best runs, right? So we don't want to spike up here and then finish down here. We want to build, and then have a nice evenly paced ride the whole way through. We want a variability index. If I look at the numbers afterwards, a VI of 1.0, where there's not too many spikes or peaks or valleys. It's very consistent pressure on the pedals. Stay present and focused on the process. Your mind will wander. The bad wolf will speak up, but we want to make sure that as soon as that starts to happen, like we practice every single session, you start thinking about your technique, you start thinking about the process, bring it back to the present situation and not letting your mind wander too long into what could happen down the road. A course like this, stay aero as much as possible. Stand and stretch occasionally on those pedals as you come out of turns, like I said, or in the slight uphills that you'll see. It's a good place to get out of the saddle occasionally, just to get a stretch. If you do get a headwind, which could happen on this course, keep that pedal stroke smooth and stay in the higher end of your power range, or your heart rate or power range. So if your heart rate range is 135 to 145 and you're going into a headwind, you should be around that 145 beat per minute. When you turn around, you get the tailwind, you want to be in the lower end of the heart rate range. It's harder to push power with a tailwind. So if I say 135 to 140 heart rate with a tailwind, you're going to be at the 135 heart rate range. Same thing for power. If you're at 200 to 220 into the headwind, you're going to be at 220 watts. With a tailwind, you're going to be closer to 200 watts. like we always do in our workouts, we break it down into smaller chunks. There's going to be 5 mile markers. Every 5 miles, there's going to be a marker that says 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Just ride 5 miles to the next. You can pee while you're riding. The best place to do it is on slight descents. So get it ready as you're going up and let it fly as you're going down. But if you can't make that happen, stop at the aid stations. All have outhouses. So just stop and get it done. It's better than trying to pinch it off and have it in the back of your mind the whole ride. So stop and go if you need to go. And stand that nutrition, guys. Nutrition. Practice the way we play. If you've been at 300 calories an hour in training, stay on 300 calories an hour in racing. Same 400 an hour, 400, stay on it. Get the nutrition in. That nutrition on the bike is vital to having a successful run. And stay on top of your straight water as well. If you're taking in all these sugars and you're not taking in straight water, there's a chance it could just sit in your gut because the concentration is too thick to transfer from your gut into your bloodstream. So stay on top of your straight water as well. That's why I said when you go through the aid station, use the first water to spray on you and that second water to drink until the next aid station. We already talked about that. That was my point to remember. Talk about what could happen on this course. Transition 2, get off of that dismount line. Your legs might be a little heavy. Take your bike off through the dismount line. There will be catchers there. They'll take your bike for you. From there, you can go to your bike rack and grab your run gear. If your run gear is at your bike rack, how do you get changed? So if you're changing, this is something I'm going to have to look into because your run gear is supposed to be at your bike rack. If you need to change your entire outfit, that means you're going to have to put a towel in your bike gear bag so you can put it around your waist, your body while you change your entire outfit. If you're not changing your entire outfit, it's fine. All the stuff is at your bike rack. But from what I read on the race briefing document is that all your run gear is going to be at your bike rack. So you'll take your bike, they'll take your bike, you run to your bike rack, you grab your bike gear, your run gear, and then you put on your run gear from there and then run out. So that's something I'm gonna have to look into. If you're going to change, there must be changing tents that you just grab your gear out of there, go to the changing tent, change, and then come back and put on the rest of your run gear. Because if you need to put on those dry clothes, if you want to change completely, you got to be ready for that. So bring an extra towel just in case you need to put around yourself if you are going to change into separate run gear out of T2. Most people don't change, but just in case that's your case, be ready for that. So put on your shoes, put on your shoes, put on your socks, put on your shoes. And then as you run out of transition, you can take everything else with you and put that on as you're running, right? You don't need to stand at your bike rack and put on your hat, your sunglasses, and your race belt. Put on your socks, put on your shoes, grab the rest of your stuff and go, right? Don't waste your time just standing there. We always want to be moving forward. It's free time. So there's no rule that says you have to have your hat and your sunglasses and your race belt on as you go out the T2, out the run out. So put all that stuff on as you're moving. Got it? Don't just stand there and just take your time doing it all. Put on your socks, your shoes, grab the rest of your stuff and get moving. Good? Got that? Free time, guys. Run course, 26.2 miles, another super flat. I mean, look at that elevation chart, 306 feet of elevation over 26.2 miles. Aid stations are every 1 to 1.4 miles. We have 2 loops of the course on the back half of the course. So it's not the entire course is 2 loops. You run out. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say a lollipop, but you're going to do 2 loops of the back half of the course. We're going to run 1 mile at a time and you're going to stay on your nutrition no matter what that weather's doing. Say it starts to rain later in the day, you are going to stay on top of that nutrition no matter what. You don't forget about it because the weather gets to be a little iffy. And I don't know if it's supposed to be. I'm just saying that. Beginning the run, like we said, take the first 10, 15, 20 minutes to find your rhythm. If your game plan is to walk the aid stations, stick to your game plan. You know, we had a guy win Ironman Philippines earlier in the year. He won the entire race and his whole plan was to walk every aid station. He did that, walked every aid station. He had a 3-hour and 15-minute marathon. He still ran fast as heck, but that was his plan. So if it's your plan to walk the aid stations and then get running strong, stick to your plan. And if you have extra juice in the tank, you use it that last 10K. But take your time building into the effort. As you run out of T2, your leg's going to be a little heavy. Don't think your day's over. You've done a lot of training. You've done all the work. Just give yourself a little time. Those legs will loosen up 10, 15, 20 minutes in. Run exactly how you've practiced. Don't get hasty. Don't say, I feel great. I'm just going to pin it. The most successful athletes think to themselves, keep the reins on, keep the reins on, keep the reins on. And then as you build and you build and you build, as we practice every single training session, if you have it, finish strong, don't start strong. Run your race, stay present and mindful. The bad wolf will pipe up, but turn it off by focusing on the process. Once again, focus on your technique and that perfect running form that we always talk about. Nutrition, we already talked about all of this. This is just a brief overview of what we said on nutrition. Saturday, make sure you stay on the top of your carb heavy diet. Don't stuff in a bunch of butter rolls, but just throughout the day, keep munching on pretzels, maybe some fig Newtons, a little carb heavy dinner. Pasta is always good. I always eat pasta with some meatballs. Keep on top of those electrolytes. Race morning, about 2.5 hours before the start. That's when you eat your breakfast. Typically, I eat oatmeal, scoop of peanut butter, maybe some jam, and then I sip on an electrolyte drink. Eat that banana or a Cliff Bar about an hour before the race. 30 minutes before the race, you can take a gel just to get that motor pumping and some quick burning carbohydrates in the system. Once you get through transition on the bike, start getting those in. If say you take your first gel at 10 minutes into your ride, then from there, you're going to stay on top of your intervals. Okay, I'm going to take it 35, an hour, hour 25, hour 50. Stay on top of those intervals from the first one that you take. Stay on top of your straight water. Don't forget to drink your straight water. If you need extra electrolytes, they have gels and Gatorade Endurance on course. Use it, guys. It's there for a reason, but just be careful. The Gatorade Endurance is very concentrated. So that's where also you're going to want to keep drinking the water. So as you go through 8 stations on the bike, on the run, if you take some Gatorade Endurance, make sure you're always washing it down with straight water. If you're a very heavy sweater, you're going to want to take some extra sodium pills. There's plenty of different brands out there. Just use what you've used in the past. We have Base, we have Performance Hydration, there's Hammer Nutrition. So there's plenty of different options, but that's something you want to stay on top of every 30 minutes, especially if you are an extremely salty sweater. Same thing on the run, stay on top of those nutrition intervals. Don't slack off. If you say I'm going to take a gel every third aid station, take a gel every third aid station. If you say you're going to take electrolytes or salt every second aid station, take it every second. Stick to your specific plan. And listen to your body, guys. If you start to cramp, you all are fit, you're strong, you've done the work. If you start to cramp, it's typically in your position, in your fitness, it's due to low electrolytes. So get on top of your gels, get on top of Gatorade Endurance. If you have any extra sodium, take some extra sodium, and the cramping will cease, but you got to give it a little time for all those electrolytes to absorb into the system. All right, questions. What do we got? Anybody got anything?
There is a team dinner on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock at Rio City Grill.
Saturday afternoon, Chris set up a dinner at Rio City Grill. You want to put that link in the comments, Chris? All right, what do we got? Tony's got something. Tony, what do you got?
Sir, on the tire for the tandem, would you still think it's the same or a little bit more?
We got to look at I don't know what tires are on the tandem. They might be different because of the more weight. So we'll have to look at what the specs are for those tires. So let's talk about that offline. Let's figure out what tires you have on there and then take it from there. Because it's different when you have, 2 full-grown adults riding as opposed to, 1. So
you're not on the front of the tandem, Jim? Are you
yeah, I'm available. I can do it. Anybody want me to, you can do it, Tony? You want me to come in last minute?
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Nancy says there's no bike catchers for the race. So let's just go off of what Nancy says. She did the research. So there are no bike catchers. So you will take your bike and rack it yourself. So same thing. Know where that stagnant object is, the outhouse or the tent or the light standard or whatever. Then you're going to take your bike there, rack it, then you put on your shoes and your run gear from there. And at Coeur d'Alene, when they didn't have a change tent for running, there were little change tents all throughout the transition. So I assume that's what we're going to have this. If you are changing, there will be a place to change your entire outfit if you're going to change going out on the run. But that's something we want to look into on Saturday or ask at the race briefing to clarify. Okay, so Lynn, what do you got for Friday? What did you say about the swim? Jim Crane just said there's an organized swim at 3 p.m. So I put that on there.
Yeah, there's an organized swim at 3 p.m. that initially started off of Facebook. pretty much it's going to be just the American River. We're staying out of the Sacramento River. There'll be plenty of kayakers and support. My husband's going to kayak as well. There are 2 parks. I'm not super familiar with where they are, but I'm sure we can figure it out. It starts at Township 9 and it ends up at, I'm going to totally annihilate this name of this park, but Tiscorina or something like that. If you can meet at the finish, then we can drive people up to the start. That way you have your car when you finish. But I would appreciate someone to bring me back up to the start, because we'll drive you up there. So if we can
Okay, so
coordinate that
what
with
time do you
anybody.
want to meet at Tiscarina Park? What time?
Probably 2:30. So we could, because swim is starting at 3. So if we can meet at 2:30, it gives us plenty of time to shuttle people up.
All right, while we're finishing here, can you just put the address of that park in the chat so these guys have it?
Sure.
We'll say 2:30 at this park that Lynn says. You guys meet there. You can coordinate how to get up, but just make sure when you finish, someone takes whoever drove you to the park, you take them back. I see Nancy wrote cadence effort into the headwind versus tailwind. So when you're going into a headwind, you want to keep the cadence on the higher side, right? You don't want to mash a really low gear into a headwind. You want to keep it fluid and efficient and just put your head down and don't think about that mentally defeating wind. That's why I'm coughing right now. I just came out of the headwind right now and it's just like so mentally defeating. So don't just take it 1 mile at a time. Keep that cadence nice, efficient on the higher side. So if your goal cadence is 84, when you're going into headwind, you want to be around that 85 to 90. Tailwind, drop it down, push a bigger gear with the tailwind because it's harder to push more watts with the tailwind. So use the more torque on the pedals as that wind pushes you from behind. So lower cadence, lower power with a tailwind, higher cadence, higher power or heart rate with a headwind. All right, what else we got? Water temperatures in the upper 60s. That first transition could be a little long. Just keep moving. That heart rate could come down. Put your Tower 26 profile. Cindy, what I missed?
I'll be up there Saturday lunchtime, and you'll be up there on Sunday morning. So
I'll be there Sunday morning. By the time you guys are getting out of the water, I'll be there yelling at you to move your booty through transition.
Me too.
All right. So are we doing bike run as a group on Saturday? No, just get your stuff. So Sean asked if you're doing a bike and run together on Saturday. No, just that's when you got to really dial into your schedule, dial into what you have going on. So get it done on the earlier side. Don't wake up super early to get it done. But when you wake up, eat a little something, get out, do your little spin, bike run, come back, get everything prepared. But get everything done earlier in the day so you get home and just relax later in the day. So nothing specific on Saturday regarding warm up. So Lynn put that first park. So meet at that first park on Friday. If you want to do a swim at 2:30, you'll drive up to the second park together and then swim from the second park to the first park. And then from there, somebody just whoever drove up to the start, someone drive them back. All right, what else? Anything? Someone else got anything on your mind we didn't cover? Obviously, we'll talk to most of you guys specifically one-on-one, but this is a good overview. If you guys are watching this recorded version, either reach out to one of your coaches or ask in the YouTube comments and we will answer that. But I think we covered a lot here. And I wanted to keep it about an hour, and it's an hour right now. So is that it? Anyone got anything else? Bill, when you head out? Bill's coming. I think you're coming from the furthest.
That's cool.
Tell everybody where you're coming from. Where are you coming from and when are you coming out?
I'm coming from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm leaving very early Thursday morning. Three flights to get there.
That's it. That means 3 bags of peanuts. I know, three bags of pretzels, carb loading. There you go. All right. Well, it'll be exciting to see everybody out there. Make sure you guys reach out and or I'll talk to most of you guys throughout the week. But thanks for joining. And we just want you to go into this with as many questions answered as possible. But guys, on race day, things always pop up. It's a major learning experience. You're going to learn so much stuff about yourself, about your performance, about your different efforts. So no matter how much we prepare you, there's going to be tons of learning that you're going to have to go through on your own. So I don't have any gear. Sean asked if we have any Tower 26 gear. Let me see what I can scrape up for the weekend and we'll see what we can get out there. But right now I don't have anything. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining. Talk to you guys soon. Awesome job. Bye. Exciting times. Let's have some fun.